Okay, let's record. So, this week we begin with our last unit of this semester. As you can see here on our work plan, we are on week 12, 23rd to the 27th of November. And this is the unit that we will do. And as you may notice, this is a short unit. We only have 2 weeks for this. 4 classes in total, because next week on Wednesday, that is November, just to confirm according to my calendar, next week, November, no, actually December already, wow. December 2nd, let's write that. This is B2.2-B, December 2nd. That is when you will do your listening portfolio. This portfolio is going to be asynchronous. Just like with portfolio number 3. And there's not much to say about it. This evaluation is very similar to portfolio number 1, actually. If you remember, portfolio number 1 was about reading. This one is listening, of course, but the focus is very similar in the sense that you will have to complete several exercises in relation to the topic that you will hear about, of course, connected to the unit. And you will have the availability for this evaluation right after our second class on Wednesday. That's December the 2nd. For B2.2-A, immediately I'll write that. That's on December 1st. Yes. So these are your specific dates. And as we finish with these evaluations, we go into our final exams. Please notice that for this week, week 14, the 14th of December, here, should appear here. There's a holiday here. Here, that's it. The 7th and the 8th of December is a holiday. So Monday and Tuesday, we don't have classes. And in your case, we will only have classes on Wednesday, for which we'll do the final exam. The final exam, as you should know, is all 4 units. All units content. And the oral interview, we have 2 weeks for this. Week 15 and week 16. And there we go. Then we have, of course, the exams week for the makeup test or the optional test. Just a reminder that the makeup test is for students who are not capable of doing the written exam, the written test. Anyone who cannot do this evaluation and justify it, of course, this is not for just anyone who doesn't want to take this. You can recuperate it by taking the makeup test on Monday, December the 28th. The oral interview is not recuperable. You have to do that one. And please remember that this one is worth 30%. This is a big percentage. So you cannot miss this one. Same goes with the test. The test is also 30%. So these are your big ones this semester. There. All right. So this is how it works. Any questions, Martin, Marcelo? Any doubts with the final dates for our evaluations? Any concerns? No? Good. So,
Teacher,
Marcelo, tell me.
final exams is 2 weeks for two different the test
Yes,
or
let's be clear with this.
okay,
The week 14 is for the written evaluation, written test. So on
okay,
Wednesday, that's for B2.2-B. Let's write that down. On Wednesday, Wednesday 8th, 9th, that is December the 9th. That is when you will do your evaluation. That's for you. Okay?
okay.
And that's all you need to know. And then in the next week, we do the oral interviews. As always, we have 2 weeks for this. So I'll tell you what are the specific instructions, when it is for each of you. But those are the 2 weeks for the oral interview. Okay, so let's begin with our unit then. Unit 4, finally. So, as you know, the name of this unit is Behaving the Way We Do. And the outcomes for this unit and for our first class is the continuation of what we began at for this semester, for this level, connected to the topics, of course, of this unit. As always, we will practice the development of clear arguments by expanding and supporting the points of view that we present with, of course, subsidiary points, that is reasoning, and relevant justification, that is the examples that we provide. Also, we continue with reading or listening of different authentic sources and material where you can and you need to be capable of distinguish relevant, irrelevant information in order to summarize that information. So that, in other words, identify main ideas and be able to explain it, reinterpret it with your own words. Summarizing main ideas of a text or any other source, and of course, giving opinions on different topics. Connecting each idea. There is a causality of ideas, a connection of ideas that you need to make of and that you need to create. This is what we review. Now, more specifically, what is the topic of Unit 4? Human behavior is the discussion that we will begin now. And there's a simple question for you. What is nature versus nurture? So like I explained before, from Unit 3 onwards, our live sessions are for you guys. It's your time to talk. What is it that you guys know about nature versus nurture? We can define one by one. So let's start with nature. Martín Lopez, what do you understand with the concept of nature?
Plants and trees.
All right. And what about you, Marcelo? What do you understand with the concept of nature?
Nature is from what we are created.
From what we are created. All right. Yes, that also works. Now, what about nurture? What do you understand with this word, Martin Lopez?
Mm, it's like take nutrients.
Taking nutrients. Yes, definitely. Actually, it works. It can be used as a verb to nurture. And what about you, Marcelo? What do you understand with this concept, nurture?
Nurture are, I feel like the way that we behave in nature.
The way in which we behave in nature. All right, yes. That's an interesting definition. So let me show you an idea of what nature versus nurture is. Let's see if we can post this. 1 second, I need to fix something really quickly. I completely forgot that. So what is nature? What is nurture? One second, I just need to quickly fix something here. All right, there we go. Sorry for that. So here's a definition, guys. Nature refers to genetics and all the factors that are inherited, okay? And we have nurture. The definition is that it refers to the variables of the environment. That is, things you get from the world around you after you are born. That's a definition of nature versus nurture. Now, let's look at this topic from this following perspective. Look at this question. Do you guys think the following areas are influenced more by nature or nurture? Or perhaps both equally? What areas are these? Let me show you. First, physical features such as eye and hair color, height, etc. Any other thing that refers to our physical features. So let's start with you, Martin Lopez. Which areas are influenced more by nature or nurture? The physical features, do you believe that this is more of a nature aspect or a nurture aspect?
Nurture
Can you repeat
aspect.
that?
Nurture aspect,
Can you explain why do you believe this?
because if you, for example, don't eat the right amount, your physical features change.
All right, yes. So by nurturing, you can modify your physical features. All right, yes, that is a good example. I'm thinking of your height, for example. Definitely, if you are malnourished, your height is not going to be the same as if you correctly feed yourself, or people, or I mean your parents, or people who take the caretakers don't feed yourself. I'm curious about eye color, for example. Is it possible to modify the color of your eyes through nurture?
No,
What about the color of your hair through nurture?
no.
I'm thinking of another physical feature. For example, what other common physical features that we can think of? Something physical. I don't know, maybe moles. Do you know what moles are? This is a mole.
I don't know.
Should be brown though. These are moles. They are in your skin. That's a mole. Those brown dots that you have in, well, not everyone, but some people have on their skin. I do have moles. Do you believe that you're born with moles, or you can nurture yourself to have more or less of them? What
You
do you think?
born with that.
Hmm. All right. What about you, Marcelo? What do you think? Are physical features an area influenced by nature or nurture? Or maybe is it both?
I think that both have influence because nature it's we comes from our genetics of our parents, so we have that characteristic associated.
Right.
So when we grow up, so we develop ne- uh, our our own characteristics.
All right. So you're saying that it is both. It can be nature and nurture. Now I'm curious, which one, because that's the question as that we can interpret as well. Which one do you believe has the most influence? Is it nature or nurture in reference to our physical features? Which one has more
Physical
weight?
features,
Yeah,
I think that nature,
nature in that
because
case.
yeah, because for example, in my case, I feel like I'm in a height and in a weight similarly of my father.
Oh, I understand. So yes, you that's a very common thing to hear that we resemble our parents. I mean, genetically, it is very common that our weight, our height, the color of our hair, our eyes, our facial features, they are always very similar to our parents. And it makes sense because they give us their genes. So it
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. All right. Now, what about this? Your likes and dislikes, such as food, music, etc. Your preferences. What do you think, Martin Lopez? Which of the two areas is more influence of
Nature?
for this? Nature, you say? And why is
Yes.
that? What do you think is nature the one that focuses more on our preferences?
I can't explain it.
Give, for example, you can give an anecdotal example. Think about your own life. Do you remember anything, for example, about food that you know that you really like from the moment that you have memories?
I never hate one food all my life. In the
Sorry,
past, I can eat all type of food, but now I don't like some types.
would that be nature or nurture? Because that example sounds like a nurture idea. Because you said that before you could eat everything, that's what I understood, but now you have some things that you cannot eat or that you do not like. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that sounds like an example of nurture. That is, you got accustomed to not liking something. That is for outside reasons, maybe. What do you think your preferences are? They are nature or nurture or both? I don't know what is happening.
hello.
Marcelo, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear. I have a problem.
Yeah,
It
we are
sounds
having
bad.
problems here. So tell me, Marcelo, we were talking about the influences of your preferences. Do you think is your personal preferences are more of a nature or of a nurture thing?
I think that personally, I think that comes from nurture because I feel that my my favorite food and my favorite music comes only from my own preference. For example, I when I hear music with my parents, I feel I feel that not ever like the music that they hear.
Right.
So I think that only that that point, food, music, or sports have influence because from what I see.
All right. Fair enough. Let's continue. What about this? Your personality traits, such as being polite, generous, gossip, etc. What do you think, Marcelo? Is this some more of a nature or nurture thing?
I think that these have both influence, but I feel that nature have more influence because I feel that my personality comes from what my parents create me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they learn to me the way that we have to behave in some aspects, and I feel that that influenced to me until now from what I do in my life.
Understand. Yeah, that's a good point you're making there. What about you, Martin?
I think the same. It's both at the same time.
What do you mean with that? Explain that.
Uh, your nature, it's not always polite or bad, but you can change your personality all the time for external factors or internal.
Ah, interesting. Can you give me an example of an internal factor that would make you change who you are,
Mm,
your personality trait? What would be one internal factor that could change you into being, for example, more generous, or again, the opposite, greedier? Or any other example? What could be an internal factor? I cannot think of one. Can you think of one?
Someone you like die?
Someone who is about to die. Oh, interesting. That's actually a very good example. So, someone who is about to die, what do you think this person would happen to? What would happen to this person, to this human's personality? If he knows that he's going to die, he may change his personality for the better or for the worse, maybe?
Yes.
Hmm, that's a good point you're making. All right, yes. So that's a, we could say that that's a nature thing, maybe. All right. Let's check the last one. Your intelligence, such as being bad or good at math or languages. What do you think, guys? Is this a nature thing or a nurture or both? What do you think, Martin?
Nurture.
You think this is a nurture aspect, Martin? Why do you think
Yes.
this is more nurture?
Because your nutrients are low or something like that, you take more time to learn something.
Uh-huh. Makes sense. And you, Marcelo?
I think that nurture have more influence because school teach you from the different class materias in English.
Subjects, okay.
So so I feel that when I begin to learn that, when it's is when I feel that it's more easily that another materias in English.
Subjects.
So
Materias in English, you call them subjects.
subjects.
Mhm.
So in big part, I feel that what professor teaches to me is how we confront that subject in the future.
Right.
So I think that that has nurture influence.
All right. More of an alternate influence. All right. Fair enough. Okay, guys. Let's move on with this topic. Now we're going to listen and watch a video on epigenetics. Epigenetics has to do with nature versus nurture, or nurture versus nature, like it shows there. You will watch this video one time and you will answer the following questions. Question one is, what's the difference between Lucky Lyle and Trouble Tim? So you're going to hear a short narration with these two characters, and you need to tell me what is their difference, or differences if there is more than one. Then the video is going to give us a definition of what nurture is, as well as a definition to what nature is. You need to tell me what is the definition that the video gives us. And finally, this video is going to tell us what is epigenetics. You need to tell me what exactly means epigenetics. All right? So we are going to watch this video once and you will provide the answers. This is a short video, but you need to pay attention. All right, so let's go with this video. Are you ready, guys? I'm going to play it now.
Yes.
So pay attention. Oh, just be sure if you're connected to Discord, I'm going to paste the questions on Discord just to make it easy on you guys. Ah, so that you have the questions on Discord. There. Okay, I'm playing it now.
Meet Lucky Lyle and Trouble Tim. Now you might think they look a lot alike. That's because they're identical twins. But imagine them being raised in completely different environments. As adults, they turn out very differently. Lucky Lyle is a model citizen. He goes to work, pays his taxes, treats others well, and gets an education. Trouble Tim is on a different path. He robs banks, doesn't pay taxes, and gets his first prison sentence at the same time as Lyle gets his diploma. Their genes are identical, so it must be their separate environments that have made them so different, right? Well, there's more to it than that. Much more. We need to rewind a bit in time. You see, one of the great questions of humanity is, what makes us us? Huh. Early explanations had a hint of the supernatural about them. As the centuries whizzed by, science emerged and fought a tough battle to gain credibility. Eventually, social science emerged with the popular theory that our environment is what makes us us. Let's call this nurture. Undaunted, the biological sciences presented another theory: genes. An unchangeable blueprint in you from birth decides everything. Let's call this one nature. So, are we a product of our genes or of our environment? The battle raged on. Observations in a newer field of study suggest that both are partly right. This field is called epigenetics. It means above genetics and has to do with how nature and nurture interact. At the heart of this discussion is one simple question asked by researcher Michael Meany. What makes a good rat mama? Well, for a rat mother, nothing says love and care like some nice, vigorous licking. The higher the number of licks, the more love and the better the mama. With this in mind, the researchers compared two groups of rat mothers, one that licked their babies a lot and another that didn't. They found that when babies grew up, they carried their mama's behavior with them and passed it on to the next generation and the next one, and so on. But could it simply be that this particular group of rats was genetically predisposed to produce caring mothers? Well, to test this, the researchers took newborn babies from low-licking mothers and fostered them with high-licking mothers and vice versa. It turns out that if the mother is a high licker, the rat baby becomes a high licker too, regardless of whether it's genetically related to her or not. So genes really don't have anything to do with it then? In true scientific fashion, the researchers dove right into the brains of these rats to see what, if anything, was different in the brains of the babies of high-licking versus low-licking mothers. When they looked at genes that possibly play a role in motherly care, they found crucial differences. Newborn rat babies have clusters of molecules called methyl groups attached to these genes. These methyl groups silence the gene, effectively switching it off. The researchers discovered that while the methyl groups in rats from low-licking mothers were still attached, in the rats from high-licking mothers, these methyl groups had disappeared. This was also true for the rats that had been adopted by high-licking rat mothers. The care these rats received from their mothers actually physically altered their genetic expression. Now that's all fine and good for rats, but what about people? Well, the same is true for Lucky Lyle and Troubled Tim, and for you and me. The genes you're born with are the genes you've got. But lifestyle and environmental influences such as nutrition, exercise, smoking, stress, and love greatly affect your biology. These changes can actually be observed at the DNA level. The bright side is that epigenetic changes happen throughout our lives, and our choices can make real differences in how we develop as human beings.
Okay. So, guys, tell me, what is the difference between Lucky Lyle and Trouble Tim?
Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Lucky Lyle have a kind of easy way to
To
no
what?
again. I think that Lucky Lyle have an easier way to behave, and Trouble Team have a difficult environment to develop. So
Okay. So the
one
difference
was
is that what for Lucky Lyle, life is easy, and for Trouble Team, life is difficult?
difficult environment, yeah.
A difficult environment. Is that's the only difference?
Mm, Another was Lucky Lyle was kind or is kind, and Trouble Team was a thief
A thief.
and is yeah, and maybe I can infer that he is indifferent to many things.
Okay.
I think that that's are the difference.
Fair enough. Anything to add, Martin Lopez?
The change also affect the genetics. Oh,
The
I
change
think
also affects the genetics.
yes.
Here's a
You can
question,
see
and
the
this is,
change in the DNA.
I see. A question that is related to this. The question is, what is the difference between Lucky Lila and Trouble Team? But why do we ask this question? Because there is a relationship between these two people. What is their similarity or relationship? Do they have one? Marcelo?
They're
Martin?
friends.
Are they friends? Are you sure?
I don't remember.
What about you, Marcelo? Do you remember what is the relationship between Lucky Lie and Trouble Team, or are they completely separate
They're,
stories?
they have the same genetic characteristic, I think,
Okay, yes, that is correct. And why do they have the same genetic characteristics?
because they can be brothers.
More than brothers, actually. That's something that is mentioned. What do you
They're
think?
twins.
Yes, they are twins. Brothers have similar genetical characteristics, but twins, on the other hand, that's the particularity of twins, that they have pretty much the same genetical makeup, same genetical
Mm.
characteristics. It's not similar, it's pretty much identical. That is why they are twins. Now that's a relationship among them that makes their distinction, their difference more appealing or more interesting. Just like you said, Lucky Lie was brought on a very good environment and Trouble Team wasn't. Therefore, Lucky Lie was a good person and Trouble Team was not. He was a thief. So there are factors here that influences their behavior that are outside of the scope of their genetical characteristics. So, what is the definition of nurture according to this video? How do we define nurture according to the video? Martina or Marcelo?
The environmental change.
Nurture is our environment, environmental changes. Okay. What about nature? What is the definition of nature according to the video? Marcelo, what is the definition of nature?
I think that genetic characteristics could be.
Genetic characteristics. All right, good. And finally, what is epigenetics according to the video?
I don't know what it means.
What about you, Martin?
A change in our nature because of our nature.
Maybe, yeah, there is something like that. It's more simple than that, actually. Epigenetics is the study of behavior between between the interaction of nature and nurture. It's the study of how nature and nurture modifies our behavior or living beings' behaviors in general. That is what is epigenetics, the interaction between nature and nurture in living organisms' behavior. Not just exclusively for humans. And why not just for humans? Because at the end of the video, you saw an example of a rat, actually several rats, an experiment of these rats. Okay, but let's move on with this. Do we have the time to do this part? Yes, we do. This is going to be our last activity. This is going to be a short reading. For this, I'm going to give you the link. And please notice the instructions. You need to read the first paragraph in of the text in 15 seconds. And then I'm going to ask you what is the text about? Or can you give me a summary of what that paragraph is, to be more precise? Then you will cover the text and write one sentence to summarize the main idea of the paragraph. Repeat that with the remaining paragraph. Do you understand that? So you read the first paragraph in no more than 15 seconds, you stop reading it, and next to it, write an idea of what you understood of that paragraph. Okay? Then I'm going to ask you to tell me what was the idea, and then you will repeat that with the remaining paragraphs. Is that clear? Marcelo?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So check the chat. You only have 15 minutes. I'm going to count. The moment you open this. Okay, now you have the link. Go to there. I'm giving you 20 seconds, starting from now. All right, time. That's 20 seconds for you. Stop reading it. Just for the purpose of this practice, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to think about what is the main idea of that first paragraph. 15 seconds just to think about it. Don't read it. Just think about what you just read. Okay, time. So, let's see. Martin, can you tell Marcelo what is the topic of this paragraph? What is the idea of the first paragraph?
The idea is a question if we are our biology or our experience.
Okay. Marcelo, explain with your words what is the idea of the first paragraph to Martin.
It's a question about if nurture and nature have both influence or just only one.
I see. Okay. It's close enough. You were right in reference to the question. There are questions. Think about skimming and scanning techniques when you do the summaries, guys. Suggestion is always read the first sentence for the main idea, the last sentence as well to confirm that that's the main idea, and keywords that you may notice that are repeated or that are important for the text. That's a quick way to understand the main idea. At the end of this first paragraph, there are other questions. Can we really mold and shape our kids into the compassionate, successful, kind creature human beings we desperately want them to be? Or are they just who they are for better or and worse? So notice that the first question at the beginning of the paragraph, are we the sum of our biology or are we the sum of our experience, is an introduction to the concept of nature versus nurture. But the last questions at the end of the paragraph, they focus on this with the idea that it is on children, how this article is going to, or maybe this paragraph will present this focus. So it's the focus about nature versus nurture part, but in how we behave as parents with our children. And more importantly, how children are affected by this, by parents' behavior. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, only 7, because the last one is just a very short conclusion. You have 7 paragraphs. Martin, you will
Yes.
read paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay?
Yes.
and the paragraph. So then the first one that you already read, skip that one. Paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are the ones that you will read. Marcelo, you will read paragraph 6, 7, 8, and that. 6, 7, and 8. Actually, also read an 8. 8 is very short, so it's easy for you. But 7 is a little bit longer. Now, I'm going to give you 30 seconds per paragraph. So you have only 30 seconds to understand the main idea and write a comment on what is the main idea of each paragraph. And you are going to explain your paragraph to your partner. Okay? So how much time in total do we have? We have 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes in total. I'm going to give you 4 minutes in total to summarize the main ideas of the paragraphs that each of you will read. Is that clear, Martina and Marcelo?
Yes.
All right, let's begin.
Yes.
Let's go now. 4 minutes. Okay, guys, time is up. Marcelo, Martin, pay attention, please. Now, if you read it, the idea is that you do not read it any longer, okay? When you have the time, I would like you to talk with one another, that is, communicate. Our class is over, by the way, but as an asynchronous activity, I would like you to discuss among the two of you and explain yourselves the paragraphs that you just read. How do you explain it? With the summary idea of what you read, okay? Just what you identified as the key information. Then, what you need to do is go to Educandus, go to your page, and you will find the exercises for this text. There are several exercises that you can read and that you can complete. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That is going to be the end for today. There are several comprehension exercises for this text. Also for the video, you can watch the video, the first video again. There is one more question there if you would like to answer it. Some more vocabulary exercises and comprehension exercises for the text. And there is a discussion as well at the end that I would like us to have next class on Wednesday. But this is the part that we finished today, okay? So you can continue working on your own asynchronously. Okay, guys, thank you for your participation, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care, guys.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, teacher. Bye bye.